What's up, Bills Mafia? Welcome back to another edition of Bills Insider Report. This is actually the first edition of this show. I am your host and founder of the page, Brett McDurphy, and I am ecstatic to be with you for another season covering Buffalo Bills football. If you're new to the channel and you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment on these videos. Also, don't forget you can share all these videos with your friends on Facebook and on YouTube. We would appreciate each and every one of you guys doing that. We are fast approaching 300 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and we have over 2,000 subscribers on our Facebook channel, and we couldn't do any of this without you guys. We appreciate you guys so much for following us, and we can't wait for another season of Buffalo Bills football. We have an intriguing matchup to discuss today between the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills, covering the Sunday Night Football matchup. We're going to dive into the keys to the game, players to watch, as well as the key offseason additions for both teams. And before we begin, I just want to take a moment to discuss what has happened over the offseason for me. I know that you guys haven't seen me that much, even though I'm doing videos on my channel. I haven't been posting a lot and doing a lot of lives just because I'm spending a lot of time with my family. And when football season begins, I give my wife my 2 weeks notice saying, hey, honey, I have to cover the Buffalo Bills for 18 weeks, and it's hard for me to be away from my family, but I do this because this is my passion, and I love covering the Buffalo Bills. So if you are new to the channel and you can subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you are new, make sure that you comment on these videos and let me know where you're coming from and why you're a Bills fan too. I would greatly appreciate that. So let's dive into the offseason additions for both teams, and we'll start with the Baltimore Ravens here. They made a few offseason additions that really are going to make their offense better. We'll start with the biggest addition that they made, which was DeAndre Hopkins, signing him to a one-year deal, and he joins the receiving core that has Zay Flowers as well as Rashad Bateman, and he brings some elite veteran presence to him. Also, an addition that they made was Joseph Noteboom, who is going to be a depth piece for the Baltimore Ravens offensive line. That's going to help them a lot, especially losing Morgan Moses a few years back. Now on defense, they added in a player that probably won't play on Sunday Night Football just because he is new to the team, has a little bit of an injury, but we'll see what happens. But they added in a high-profile cornerback to their already dominant defense, and that is Jair Alexander coming in from the Green Bay Packers, and I can't wait to see what he does in a Ravens uniform. Now, the Ravens also have made some extensions just like the Buffalo Bills, and they have extended some players, and a couple of them, on the offensive side of the ball as well as one on the defensive side of the ball. The biggest off-season extension that they made was Kyle Hamilton, the safety, signing him to a massive 4-year contract extension for over $100 million. They also signed Derrick Henry and locked him up on a 2-year deal for $30 million. Rashad Bateman, the other wide receiver on the offensive side, extending him for 3 years, $37 million. And then Ronnie Stanley, the longtime Baltimore Raven, was re-signed to maintain stability and was a key offseason move that's flying under the radar for the high-profile Baltimore Ravens offense. Now, the Ravens do have a few undrafted free agent stories that we can talk about as well in Ruben Lowery, Keon Martin, as well as Jay Higgins, the fourth, that made the 53-man roster, and Lowery is going to stand out on special teams and is a player that you need to watch for the Baltimore Ravens. Now let's go over to the Buffalo Bills side of the ball. You probably know all these offseason moves by now that the Bills have made, but if you're not sure who the Bills have signed, let's go over some of these. The biggest free agent addition that the Bills made on defense was Joey Bosa, signing him to a 1-year deal, and he brings some elite pass rushing skills to the Buffalo Bills defensive line. Now they solidified that defensive line by adding some depth pieces that will not play in the first 6 games of the season in Michael Hoyt, as well as Larry Ogunjobi, who are suspended for PEDs for the first 6 games. And that's hard to have happen, but we can't wait to see them on the field when they do become members of the team after these suspensions. But the biggest addition that they made was to the number 2 cornerback position, which was probably flying under the radar for many people, in adding Tre'Davious White, as well as making their first-round pick, Maxwell Hairston, who has another injury that will prevent him from being on the roster for the first few games of the season, being on the IR list. But Tre'Davious White is reuniting with the team after being away for one season and brings some veteran leadership. Now, he is also injured, so we'll see if he plays in this game. He has not practiced throughout the first 2 practices of the season. Terry Pegula and the Bills have also pretty much given away their entire wallet this offseason by making so many extensions to key players that are going to impact the Buffalo Bills for a long period of time. They have signed extensions to Josh Allen for 6 years, Khalil Shakir, the wide receiver, for a few years as well. Terrell Bernard signing another extension. These are more team-friendly deals. Christian Benford signing a team-friendly deal as well. Greg Rousseau and also James Cook in the end of training camp, making him the last player that was an extension for the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Bills have made some noteworthy moves to their practice squad, as well as that are coming back to the Buffalo Bills that you might be familiar with. Gabe Davis is the newest member of the practice squad, having returned to Buffalo and will be recovering from a torn meniscus and add some depth to the team. They also signed the Jordans, and I like to call them the Jordans just because there's 2 of them, and Jordan Phillips and Jordan Poyer added back to the team. The team has also added some reassurance to the special teams by adding in Matt Prater, and we'll see what happens as the week goes on if our kicker Tyler Bass practices and is playing in the game. But that's something to look out for as the games to ahead. Let's get into the injury reports for both teams, and I'm going to pull up the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. We'll start with the visiting Baltimore Ravens. There's 2 players that did not practice in the first 2 weeks of 2 practices of the season. The first one is Patrick Ricard. The other one is Isaiah Likely. Both players are probably going to be out on offense for the Baltimore Ravens, which is a good sign for Buffalo, as that's going to hamper a little bit of their blocking scheme. Isaiah Likely is a wonderful blocker, as well as Patrick Ricard, and that's something to monitor as the week continues, is how are they going to be able to block against the Bills' defensive line and their front 7. The Bills have a few injuries to report. Number 1 is going to be Keon Coleman with a groin injury. Something to monitor as the week goes on. He was limited in practice over the first few days of the practices. The biggest noteworthy one was Tre'Davious White not practicing for the first 2 practices, and that's something to keep an eye out to, is who's going to be the number 2 cornerback for the Buffalo Bills. Is it going to be Tre'Davious White, or will it be Dorian Strong or Jamarcus Ingram coming in and being that number 2 cornerback opposite of Christian Benford? We'll see what happens there. And let's also go into a couple of storylines to look for as the Bills come into this game, which is going to be, and leads me into my players to watch in this game, is Josh Allen coming off of the MVP season and not practicing, or not participating, I should say, in any of the 3 preseason games for the Buffalo Bills. We'll see what happens with him, if he can have a strong start to the game, or will he struggle out of the gates, and will the offense struggle a little bit with being off for a few weeks? Let's go to Khalil Shakir as well. Can he become that dependable target that the Bills need? And can his connection with Josh Allen be vital for the rest of the season as well, especially with that ankle injury that he does have? Joshua Palmer, and the newest addition on offense for the Buffalo Bills, what does he bring to the table as a deep threat, and could he open up the field for others around him? Keon Coleman, another guy on the offensive side of the ball, what is he going to do in year 2 for the Buffalo Bills, and is he going to make that progression that we want to see in year 2, especially after what he said in the offseason about his game being trash? Will he be able to take it to the next level like we want to see him do for this team this season? Let's go to the Baltimore Ravens side of things too, and it comes down to a few players to watch for me. on the offensive side of the ball is going to be Lamar Jackson. Can he erase last season's bad taste? And will he be able to be that leader and playmaking player that is pivotal for the Baltimore Ravens' success on offense? Other offensive weapons that we have to worry about are Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers. Both were looking to bolster that offense for the Baltimore Ravens, and a player that you need to watch out for, Derrick Henry, when he goes off against the Buffalo Bills, that's when we struggle in the run defense and we start to lose the game. But can we stop Derrick Henry, and can we make it where Lamar Jackson has to beat us with his arm? That's what we need to see here for the Buffalo Bills. And that leads me into our keys to the game. And I have a few keys to the game, actually 4 of them. And it starts off with winning the turnover margin. The Bills last year, when they played the Baltimore Ravens, which was on January 19th, in a game that was it was so much fun to watch. But that game was the playoff game where Mark Andrews dropped the ball on the 27-25 loss for them. But in that game, the Buffalo Bills won the turnover margin. They had 3 turnovers that they created, and they were able to make big plays with their defense. And that's what we're going to need to see here for the Buffalo Bills if they are able to win this game. The run efficiency for the Buffalo Bills. And this comes down to establishing the run on offense for the Buffalo Bills and controlling the tempo of the game on offense, utilizing play actions, getting the wide receivers involved in Dalton Kincaid, also having Joshua Palmer, Keon Coleman involved, and if he plays in this game, Khalil Shakir. I want to see what they can do on offense, but also stopping the run against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. These two are going to be the focal points of the offense for the Baltimore Ravens, and I want to see what the Bills can do with this newly built front 7 that they have, and what contributors are going to come into the game too, which leads me to my third key to the game, which is going to be the rookies and depth pieces for the Buffalo Bills. What are they going to do to contribute? You got guys like Deion Walker, our 4th-round pick, and TJ Sanders that are rookies. They have to step up this week against a good, if not great, Baltimore Ravens offensive line and offense. I want to see what they can do, especially with this new regime that we have built in for our front 7. And I want to see what the Bills have to offer on that side of the ball, and if they can come out of the gates with some big stops and get the ball back to Josh Allen. This also is a matchup between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. You've had that MVP talk left and right. You've heard these are 2 of the premier quarterbacks for both teams. They lead by example. I want to see this head-to-head matchup. Who's going to win and teeter that MVP race? I want to see what happens there. You have Josh Allen with the big arm. He's going to make big throws. But who's going to win? Who's going to take that balance? And who's going to play more balanced football for their team and lead them to a win here? That's what I want to see from both teams. Now, this matchup, as I mentioned, has some key injuries. You got a few to name, but this matchup is going to be fun to watch, and we will monitor the status of every player. We will have another show coming up on Saturday, which will be our Bills Blitz show. That'll be Saturday at 8 p.m. on our YouTube and Facebook channels. But we will see the final injury reports for both teams, and we will dive into a little bit more of how the Bills can win this game and what they can do to keep that streak of being over 80% of winning their games at home. The Bills actually have a slight favorite to this game. They are half-point favorites in terms of winning this game, in terms of the spread. And the Ravens are entering this game seeking redemption, and experts highlight the narrative of the bad taste in their mouth and the chance to reverse what they did in the heartbreaking playoff loss for the Baltimore Ravens. Analysts are cautious of the Bills' historical dominance at home, and their playoff success over the Baltimore Ravens may continue to loom large. Fantasy implications, I'm going to stay away from that just because they're Nickel City Mafia. They cover that. They do a great job of covering the Buffalo Bills, and they know way more than I do about the fantasy football. If you want to come in last place and you want to do the, whatever the punishment may be, listen to me, but stay away from my fantasy advice. I will tell you that against these teams. I'm kidding, guys, obviously, when I say that a little bit. But let's see what the depth pieces of the Buffalo Bills have to offer, and let's see what this team will do. This is going to have a lot of fireworks. It's going to be emotional in Buffalo. You got the last season at Highmark Stadium in mind, and it's going to be the farewell tour. But can the Buffalo Bills come out of the gates with a strong win in their quest to get the number 1 seed in the AFC? We'll see what happens here. I'm going to give you my prediction for the game, and I think the Buffalo Bills are going to pull off a huge win at home. They're going to win 31-27 in a game that will be historic in the last season at Highmark Stadium, and I can't wait for this matchup. If you have made it to the end of this video, please double tap the like button, subscribe, and we can't wait to see you for another edition of Bills Insider Report every Thursday night as the season goes on. This has been Go Bills Podcast. We will see you next time for another edition of Bills Insider Report. Double tap the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for another show. We will be back on Saturday for a Bills Blitz show, and we can't wait to see you then. Until next time, stay loud, stay proud, and as always, Go Bills.